So Warzone 2 is literally just on the horizon, and if you're anything like me, you're more excited than R. Kelly in a playground. However, there's one thing that is absolutely worrying me, and that is the sheer amount of variety in the gunsmith and knowing just what is going to be the absolute best loadout for Warzone 2. Now, I've gone through these Modern Warfare 2 guns and I have selected what I believe to be the best class setups for Warzone 2, at least in the beginning. Obviously, some of this might change as we develop a meta, but I really think after the testing that I have done, these class setups that I'm giving you today are going to put you in a really good position to absolutely dominate those first few games of Warzone 2. In this guide, I've given you two setups, both with the primary and the secondary, as well as the attachments and how to tune them to get them absolutely perfect for Warzone 2. Before we go too far into the video, I do just want to remind you guys, I'm currently engaged in a ridiculous slap bet whereby if I don't get 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, my brother-in-law is going to slap me hard in the face. If you could just spare that half a second to subscribe, it would make my day, and in return I promise to give you absolutely banger Modern Warfare 2 tips and tricks videos, as well as Warzone 2 tips and tricks videos, and also I'll be uploading the result of the slap bet on New Year's Day. But with that out of the way, let's get into these incredible class setups. Okay, so here we are in the gunsmith, and I've got three examples of what I think are going to be perfect class setups for Warzone 2. Now, what I've done is spent a few hours in game modes like Ground War so that I've dialed in the range, and I've also managed to get these builds tuned into nearly perfection. I'm not going to say that they're absolutely perfect, but we'll see how that goes. So first off, let's look at this one. We're using the FENNEC 45 and the RPK. The reason I've chosen the RPK is because the LMGs in this game seem to have incredible recoil control over long sustained fire. The difference with the RPK, however, is because of its magwell, you get a much faster reload time and a quicker ADS than you do with most of the other guns in this category. So let's hop into the gunsmith for the RPK. Now, first and foremost, you'll see this on a lot of my classes. I have chosen the CORIO LAS44 V3 laser. The reason for this is because it gives us aim down sight speed and aiming stability. It does mean that your laser will be visible in ADS, however I'm not too worried about that because of these potential upsides that it gives us. The reason that we need that extra ADS speed is because this build can be one slow puppy. The first attachment that we're going to go for is the TAC-597 barrel. This gives us damage range, hipfire accuracy, movement speed and bullet velocity at the cost of hip recoil control, which I'm not too worried about because if you're firing this at hipfire, something drastic has gone wrong, your aim down sight speed and your recoil control. Now, the way I've tuned this barrel is I've gone max on the recoil steadiness and max on the aim down sight. As a general rule of thumb, you don't always want to max out these tuning stats. However, with the RPK, the damage range is already really good, and when you're tuning on this bottom slider, you can see that after a certain point, the damage range really doesn't change that drastically. However, our aim down sight speed increases a lot, and we're going to need that for this slow build. Next, we have the Custovia DX90 suppressor. Now, I'm unsure how the minimap is going to work in Warzone 2, however, all signs point to it working in the classic way, whereby if you fire a gun that is unsuppressed, you're going to show up on the enemy radar. This means that we have to choose a suppressor if we want to maintain that element of stealth. I chose this one because it gives us that sound suppression, bullet velocity, which is extremely important at hitting people at those very long ranges that we're going to see in this map, recoil smoothness and recoil control. Now, if we head over to the tuning, I have kept the recoil smoothness and the aim down sight speed tuning pretty much the same. The reason I have done this is because if I move it either way, it drastically affects one of the other, and I want to keep both of those statistics pretty much how they are. Now, at the bottom here, I've gone for more aiming idle stability. The reason being is because aiming idle stability is how much your gun moves whilst you're aiming down sight. And in Modern Warfare 2 and eventually Warzone 2, this means that that aiming idle stability is going to affect your recoil or perceived horizontal recoil at range. So we need to get as much of that as possible. Next, I chose the VLK purely because it is a very solid optic that a lot of us are used to from the Modern Warfare 1 days. Also, when you tune this, you are able to absolutely max out the aim down sight speed, which is obviously going to be better for this build, but it does come at the cost of flinch resistance. Now, flinch is something that we're not sure how big of a deal it's going to be in Warzone 2. However, because a lot of people are going to be focusing on maxing out their range and their ADS speed, I can't imagine that too many people in Warzone 2 are going to have things that increase the flinch that they give you. So as a result, I personally believe that the aim down sight speed is going to be a lot more valuable. And finally, I went with the FT TAC-ELITE stock. Reason being is it gives us extra recoil control, which is going to be very important when we're sustaining fire down range at very long distances. The way I've tuned this is again all the way down to aim down sight speed and just ever so slightly off all the way of aiming idle stability. Now if we hop into the firing range, I'll show you what this bad boy can do. At close range, you're going to be beaming people obviously. At medium range, and the nice thing is, at long range, it absolutely destroys people. Now, the second gun that I'm going to use on this class setup is the FENNEC 45 because it is an absolute close range beast. This thing fires so goddamn quickly that when you're coming up on those 1v1s, you are going to win 9 times out of 10 if it's a close quarters situation. Now, I'm building this with the HIPSHOT L20 to give us hip recoil control and hip fire accuracy. This does mean that our laser will be visible at the hip, but I feel like at these close ranges, the enemy probably already knows you're there and this isn't going to be such a big deal. Next, I've gone with the ZLR 16.5-inch ignition barrel. This attachment is almost a must because it gives us that very needed recoil control. The FENNEC 45 can be an untamely beast if left to its own devices, and for that reason we do need to sacrifice some attachment to make that recoil that little bit more manageable. Now, the way that I've tuned this is to go away from the aiming walking speed because this is already a very mobile gun, and more towards the recoil steadiness to give us that extra control. And then on the bottom here, because we're only focusing on very short distances with this gun, I've maxed it out all the way to aim down sight speed. Next, we have the LOCKSHOT KT85. The reason I've chosen this is because again, we need that horizontal recoil control and that vertical recoil. Now, I've gone from the recoil stabilization and gone pretty much all the way down to aim down sight speed just because a lot of these things that we've added so far are harming that ADS. Now, at the bottom, I've gone away from the aiming idle stability because I don't think that we're going to be stood still trying to hit targets at distance, and gone all in on the gun kick control to make sure that that initial burst of bullets is as controllable as possible. Next, we have the Bruin Tilt Grip. The reason that I've chosen this is because it is going to give us more hipfire accuracy, hipfire control, and aiming walking steadiness. I've gone away from the hip walking speed because this is already a mobile gun, and gone a little off of full on the hip recoil control there on the left. And then at the bottom, I've gone away from aim down sight speed and gone all in on hip fire accuracy because 9 times out of 10, we're going to be using this gun at the hip because the hip fire spread is so unbelievably tight. And then finally, I went with the FENNEC Mag 45 magazine just to give us that extra bit of ammo because of the rate of fire in this gun. It is seriously going to burn through that ammunition. So let's hop into the firing range and see what this bad boy can do. So, as you can see, it absolutely deletes people. Now, you're obviously not going to be testing it out at that sort of range, but at these close ranges, you can see that people have hardly any chance at all, and the recoil isn't actually that bad. Okay, so the other build that I want to show you today is going to be a sniper and sniper support build. Now, for the sniper, I'm going to use the MCPR 300. Now, I can't take credit for finding this out myself because it was actually the Tactical Brit that made an incredible video on this sniper rifle, and he found out that it has the best damage profile in the whole entire game of Modern Warfare 2. What this means is this gun is going to be the most likely to one-shot down enemies in Warzone 2 with 2 to 3 plates on in just one headshot, and that is so important if you're choosing a sniper rifle because you don't want to be having to get those follow-up shots if you've already hit the headshot. Now look, the main drawbacks to this weapon are going to be that the ADS speed could get a little bit slow, so for that reason, again, I've gone with the CORIO LAS 44 V3 laser to give us that extra aim down sight speed. Similarly, I've gone for the CRONEN LW88 stock because this again speeds it up and gives us aiming walking speed and sprint speed, making this gun feel a lot more manageable. Now on the tuning on this attachment, I've gone all in on the aim down sight speed on the left hand side because aim walking steadiness isn't that important to me because a lot of the times you're going to be taking still shots at range. And then on the bottom here, I've gone for aiming idle stability so that when we are led down still, we're going to get a lot less weapon sway and therefore it's going to be a lot easier to land those headshots. Next, we've gone for the longest barrel, which is the 22-inch OMX 456. The way that I've tuned this is all the way down to aim walking speed because we do not need recoil steadiness because the recoil on a bolt action sniper is sort of negligible. Then on the bottom, I've gone as far over to the damage range as I could without hurting the aim down sight speed too much. The reason I did this is because I don't want a damage drop off that is going to stop me getting that one-shot kill in the head. But equally, I don't want to take too much away from the aim down sight speed on what is already a fairly slow gun. And then finally, I've gone for the TAC Dreadnought, which is a suppressor. Again, we want to stay off the minimap, especially when we're sniping at distance, because you don't want people sneaking up on us that are nearby. Now, I've gone all the way in on aim down sight speed, because again, we do not care about the recoil smoothness on a bolt action sniper. And then on the bottom, I've left it unchanged because I don't want to harm our aiming idle stability or our bullet velocity. Now, to go with the sniper rifle, I've chosen the Vaznev 9K. This gun is absolutely incredible because of its low recoil and high damage output. This gun almost feels like a hybrid between an assault rifle and an SMG, and for that reason, I thought it'd be absolutely perfect for this sniper support role. Now, as you've probably guessed, I'm adding the CORIO LAS-44 B3 laser to give us that extra aim down sight speed. I've chosen the CRONEN Mini Red Dot. However, if you have unlocked the CRONEN Mini Pro by getting the Expedite 12 up to level 13, that might be a better choice. Now, when you're tuning the Red Dot sight, because we're not sure how the flinch resistance thing is going to work in Warzone 2, I personally don't think it's going to be a massive problem, and plus flinch isn't always a huge issue if you're in very close range. I've gone all in on the aim down sight speed there on the left. Then for the position, what I've done is moved that sight further away from my eye. This gives me less perceived visual recoil and also allows me to keep my peripherals free because I'm going to be using this in closer engagements. Next, we've got the Singard MKV suppressor. Again, I'm using a suppressor so that we stay off the minimap, and also it's good for this build because it gives us a little bit extra damage range and bullet velocity, meaning that we're going to be able to hit more targets at a slightly further range. Obviously, you use your sniper if they're miles away, but in that medium range where the sniper is a bit too slow to use, this is going to excel. I've gone nearly all the way down on aim down sight speed at the expense of recoil smoothness because this gun is already fairly stable. And then on the bottom, I've gone away from aiming idle stability because if you're stood still, you're probably going to be using your sniper, and gone all the way up to bullet velocity so that I can punch out to those slightly further ranges. Now, if we hop into the firing range, you'll be able to see that this gun handles like an absolute dream. The ADS is not too fast, it's pretty snappy. You're not going to be able to hit targets that far away, but you are going to be able to absolutely dominate in those close range engagements. And then if we swap to the sniper, I mean, what else needs to be said? You're going to be downing people with one shot to the head. And there we have it, my two best class setups for Warzone 2. I really hope that some of you guys find these useful, and I hope that you can absolutely shred the competition with these when Warzone 2 comes out tomorrow. Now, for those of you who have watched my videos for a while, you'll know that I love to see who sticks around until the end. So if you're still here, I'd like you to let me know by answering this question down in the comments. What do you think is going to be the best gun in Warzone 2? Anyway, that's it from me today. I'm Average Joel. Peace.